One tooth, the whole tooth. It's all together, nothing but the tooth.
Okay, open wide. Okay, don't worry. If I hit a nerve, I can give you some anaesthetic.
I know it's going to be painful, because my teeth are really... And I've put it off for about a month and a half. I've just, put the dentist off because I've got this thing, when you're a kid, it's like murder house syndrome, and I've got it, and I'm scared shitless of them. I hate them. With a vengeance, all dentists should be. And yeah, so I'm feeling pretty anxious because I know the news isn't going to be good, and then that will result in pain. The old dentist was grumpy, never spoke to me. Hello, yes, you're the new nurse, okay, over there. That was it. And I had to learn by my mistakes, which was not good. And my front two teeth are really, really painful, and I think they've got holes in them. Stumps for teeth, yellow stumps. And he was so old, and they bring him in, and he's and they're going to actually cut these stumps out.
My worstest experience at the dentist was when I was about 7 or 8, and I had an abscess underneath one of my back molars. And what happened was because the molar was still intact in that, but it had a hole had gone in somewhere and abscessed underneath in the root. So the dentist dude had to get in there and rip it out. Hand him the scalpel, right, okay. Because when I was younger and that, I don't think the goo worked, the injection to numb out your mouth and that. And I could still feel the pain, man, and he's going, can you feel that? And I'm going, yep, I can feel it. Cuts in, and I'm starting to go, oh, and he's, well, what are you going to do now? Hold this, and I'm sucking all the blood out of this guy's mouth, and this old fella starts moaning and... Give me another shot. Can you feel that? Yep, I can feel that too. Yeah, that was pretty terrible. I started to feel faint, the room going round and round and round, so... And he ended up sticking one up on top of my jaw, in the hard bit. Oh, that was really sore, and I ended up bawling my eyes out. The dentist is, covered, his apron's covered and his gloves are covered, and I'm sort of standing back and I look down, oh no, and I've got it all over me too, because as he cuts in, it kind of spurts out, not arterial, but close to that sort of thing. And I kept saying, no, I can feel it, and in the end he said, oh well, too bad man, we're going in. And then the guy finally gets all his teeth out, and his mouth is stuffed full of cotton wool. And he's sitting there, full of cotton wool. Cotton wool and wadding, and they say, righto, Mr. Smith, you'll be alright, come back tomorrow, or give us a ring if the bleeding doesn't stop. And off he goes, and the next patient's in.
I was unemployed, and I'd always heard that you could get your teeth fixed cheaply when you were unemployed. So I inquired about this, found I had to go to the hospital, trotted along to the hospital, filled in the forms, all the rest of the palaver.
I had to have my wisdom teeth out.
The doctor comes in, gives me an injection, makes a couple of strange remarks that I sort of took, well, okay, as a little cutting the ice bizzo.
It was a few days before Christmas.
Then his Asian nurse comes in, looking very serious.
Yeah, and it was like crunching noises.
So he said, well, this would only take an hour or so, and there'll only be a little pain while I'm doing it.
It was over, but I was still sore. I was swollen.
So he gave me a shot of the joy juice and applied the they're not forceps, what the hell are they? Pliers, I suppose, of a dental persuasion.
It was Christmas Day, and we were all sitting down to lunch.
And he was making some fairly odd remarks along the lines of, oh well, what's a little pain, and you've got to expect these things, and what else do you come to the dentist for, ha ha ha.
I'm so swollen I can hardly talk.
And as time went by, and he kept giving me more and more injections, which didn't work, he and his little Asian nurse seemed to think that the whole thing was a good joke,
and the turkey's cut and we're about to eat.
And the comments got more and more macabre, and he started to do odd things like stroke my arm and touch me on the knee, and
My stitches burst.
my head by this time was filling up with the drugs, and I was getting very loose, you might say.
Suddenly my mouth was full of blood, and he just went. My mouth was just gushing blood all over the.
And the entire scene took on the aspect of a concentration camp.
All over the table. There was just a fountain of blood out of my mouth and spattering the plates and the food, and
suddenly I began to think that I was in a Dr. Mengele experiment. And this guy filling me full of injections, laughing at my obvious discomfort, touching me up at the same time, while his assistant simply stood by with a blank stare.
And the blood kept on coming out. It wasn't just like go down to a trickle. It just kept,
touch my knee and fondle my arm. And
they take me to the hospital, and I'm still bleeding. And the doctor has a good look and sponges out the blood and gets. Drink of water.
And make these ridiculous jokes about pain and how much I really wasn't going to enjoy what he was going to do next, ha.
Got all the blood out of the way and started to sew up my burst gums with, needle and thread and no anaesthetic. And the pain was, the gums were already in a mess, and the pain was just awful, and I'll never forget it. And that's why I hate dentists.
So my advice to anybody who has dental work that they wish to have done, particularly extractions, is do not go to a public hospital because that's where the Nazis went after the war.
I don't believe you. You can't possibly feel this.
I can tell you about the other dentist who was there. He had a good name. He was Mr. Payne, and that was for real. His name was Mr. Payne, and he was a young dentist and quite handsome also, most people seem to think. And all the sort of these upper middle class ladies were always his patients, always the ones from about 35 years old onwards, and they were all Mr. Payne's patients. Some of them used to come 2-3 times a week, and I'm sure it was just to see Mr. Payne and sit in the chair.
John the dentist, he was fun. He was a guy I met in Waipakarau at a gig we were doing. We called him John the dentist because of obvious reasons. He was a dentist, his name was John, and there was another dentist coming which was going to be much greater than him later on.
He was the one who had the cupboard. The drug cupboard was in Mr. Payne's surgery, and he had the little blue pills, which one per patient usually did the trick, and they were out to it. And these middle class ladies, they liked that. They liked to have that. And they'd wake up and be, oh, Mr. Payne.
So John the dentist told me all these stories about people. There was one, he actually showed me this, he was showing me different things, like he showed me a dog's, like a cast of a dog's mouth, and he showed me a cast of something else, like all these different teeth formations, mouths and such. And he gave this one where there was the bottom jaw sort of was like this, and these teeth sort of coming out at weird angles like this, and then there was the top jaw which sort of came over it all. None of these teeth met except for in this one little place right close to the back where they actually contacted each other. And he says, like, that's the only way it could chew its food, Wow, I said, what sort of an animal is that? He says, animal. He says, there's somebody walking around Waipakarau, and that's in the middle of their face, that's what they got. All right.
The real reason I hate dentists is because of my father. I found out that I was adopted at birth. My adoptive mum and dad had a baby. Their baby had died at birth, and zoomed out and got me for a replacement. They gave me the dead baby's birthday I always wondered why my astrology was all wrong. My adoptive father was a dentist.
People had the local anaesthetic, Novocaine or something it's called, I think.
You know, if I needed work done on my teeth, and I did, I, you know, just went to his work and had it done there. There was no problem.
And he would say, "Oh, don't throw that needle away, nurse, put it in the steriliser." And we used to re-sterilise the needles and use them for the next person, and they'd get blunter and blunter. I said, "Oh, Mr. McAlpine, can we use a new needle?" And say, "Let me look at it," and he'd hold it up to the light. Oh,
I was about 20 years old and I'd left home, and I was living in another town. Tooth was bothering me, went to the dentist, needed a filling. The dentist said,
yeah, I suppose we better throw it away.
"What kind of anaesthetic would you like?" I said, "What? You mean I can have anaesthetic when I have a filling?" What was going on in his head that he gave this stepchild dental treatment, usually drill on the teeth without anaesthetic? And I think of you know, the pain I had, and all the heartbreak that he had, that he worked out, all the heartbreak that he had about his dead baby that he worked out on my teeth.
You shouldn't eat so many lollies when you're young. If you eat too many lollies, it rots your teeth, and look what happened to mine.
When I first started school and went to the dental nurse, they actually had those foot drills operated with the foot and the drill, and it was so slow and so painful. The big drills with a big ball thing on the end of them.
Then they built, being Mount Roskill, this is Mount Roskill, of course, you know, working class area. You know, we can use these kids for experiments because they're good for nothing else anyway. So they built a dental trainer's school next to the intermediate school.
You mustn't throw rocks at each other. Someone once threw a rock like this at me, and look what happened.
And then we got a new dental nurse, and she decided I needed this big filling. Well, I was in there every day, drilling, and the pain was incredible.
So for the next however many horrible years it was, at least 8 or 9, I was flocking in and out of the dental training school, getting where I was one of the subjects for their experiments.
Mr. McAlpine was the dentist, and he did not like children. He was past it, really, and he was really grumpy to them. I had to try and be nice to them, and I didn't really like children at that stage either. Yes, we had children, yes, and most of them were screamers. They liked to scream.
You shouldn't play on the road like that. A truck might come and run into you and knock your teeth out like it happened to me.
No anaesthetic for children in those days. Oh no! And some kids were even strapped in. You'd hear them screaming. Oh, it was definitely the murder house. You know, you'd hear them screaming, and they'd be held down, their mouths forced open, and in went the drill.
Just to give you some context, townships are very poor places. I'm talking about the townships specifically in the Eastern Cape, around Port Elizabeth, which is where I was born and where I grew up. And people didn't have a lot of money to go around for food, let alone dentists.
Yeah, me and my brother one time, and I had a toothache, and we tried tying a string onto it. I can't remember which one it was. And we tried tying the string out and slamming the door. But it didn't work. I think the string just broke and just made it 10 numb also.
And what you needed was two things. One was a flaming red piece of wood or metal that been heated in the fire. And the other thing you'd need is a piece of thread about that long. And this thread was usually really strong, either a shoemaker's thread or fishing line.
So my brother had a bent knife, This is sort of off the teeth, but onto the noses. But we'll get back to teeth. But bent nose, and I said to, we were sitting on the bed one day, and I said, "Gee, man, I'm sure I can straighten out your nose." It was just a little bit bent like that. I said, "If you sort of sit sideways, I'll bap it the other way, and then knock it the other way." So he holds still, and I got him, and I sat him down, and I went, "Boom!" I bashed him on the other side of his nose, and his eyes went ding, and started watering. He was on the ground.
It was my mother. My mother also believed, because she'd mended cats and dogs, and she'd mended broken legs on the cats, and she'd extracted a few bad teeth from the dog using pliers. That she could do the same with kids. In fact, she tried using the pliers on them.
And he popped up, and it was still bent. Still bent the wrong way.
Just stuck this old metal pliers in her mouth and tried to yank at it, and of course just broke off bits and pieces.
So that didn't quite work out.
And then she had to resort to the old trusted, tried and tested method of extracting teeth, which is cord and heat.
There was an old boy, I got picked up hitchhiking once, and this old guy told me this story about his teeth. He said that he was one of these kids, he had teeth like chalk. He says they were just like chalk,
And what they would do is they'd tie the cord around your tooth, tie it around the door handle, sit you back in the chair, make sure there's a good tension in that cord.
The only thing he could do about toothache, because he had such brittle, awful teeth, the only thing he could do about toothache was best relief in the middle of the night, waking up with this pain in your mouth, and just the pain.
And then basically they'd stick this piece of hot metal or coal, wood coal, in your face, and so your first reaction is reflex action is just to pull back like this.
Anyway, this guy reckoned he would wake up, or he'd be awake all night with toothache, and the pain was so intense that the only way he could fix it was to go and have a glass of cold water.
And as they pull it away, you're trying to ease off the tension of it, because you're dealing with this pain in your mouth, in your gum. And so there'd be this, like a baiting of a fish, really.
It wouldn't take the pain away, but at least it'd just change it for a while. It'd be a different sort of searing pain. And the other one would come back, it would feel, a little less sort of severe.
Back and forth, until suddenly it's lunged at you, and you jerk your head back like this, and out pops the tooth like a fish out of water.
Wider, I can't get this thing in.
Japanese dentist, quite good. Not so painful. Very good.
Do you know something that like my friend, he's got like buck teeth, and he used to have buck teeth, and then he got braces on, and he had like braces for years, and then they came out like really straight, and he's looking in the mirror and he goes, "Oh man, look at my buck teeth," and I go, "You haven't got buck teeth, man," and he goes, "And I have, eh?" And I go, "No, you haven't," and like he had braces and they've actually got fixed, but he still like sees them in there, and I reckon it's like when really big fat people lose weight and then they become thin, but they look at themselves in the mirror and it's like they're still this fat person, and it's like you can do that for your teeth, like you can have straight teeth and you look at them and they look like really, really protruding, but they don't to other people, and yeah, that was really interesting for.
Some people have wonderful teeth, though. Some people, the first thing you see in them is their teeth, and you're sort of looking at their teeth all the time they're talking to you, and then they ask you a question, and you.
New Zealand dentist, not so good. Yeah. My friend been to New Zealand dentist. That's a terrible.
Wider, I can hardly see.
This was the one, it wasn't, it was the Strawberry Fields. I was doing the MC for Strawberry Fields, okay? And I was never sure whether I was set up for this one or not. But it was pretty bloody good, and the guy that gave me the message was somebody I knew from years ago, and I don't know whether I'd betrayed him in some other lifetime or whatever, and he was getting me back or what the deal was. But anyway, I'm up there doing the public speaking thing, and I have to read out these messages that come out that are supposed to have been screened and are supposed to be bona fide, and this one I should have kept because the wording of it was pretty stunning. But anyway, on the Saturday afternoon or the Saturday evening, it was like, please don't laugh, but there is a lady out there in a wheelchair, and she's a paraplegic. She's having a good time at the rock and roll concert, and she's lost her false teeth. And there are several thousand of you out there. So if you find some false teeth that aren't yours, could you please return them to the St. John's tent or whatever? Yeah. And I was like, sure, buddy.
Oh, well, it's free and it's gas and we haven't had that before, you know.
Okay, but yeah, no, and a couple more times it comes back up. And remember the lady with the false teeth, the lady in the wheelchair? Yes, well, she still hasn't found her teeth and she's a bit concerned. Could you please have a bit of a scout around?
Well, let me see now. I'm 41 years of age at the present point in time, and I have been to the dentist precisely twice since I was 18, both times to get teeth extracted. Presumably that tells its own tale.
Middle of the night, about 11 o'clock, 9:30 or 12:30 or something like that. Oh, look, just come to hand. Message from the lady in the wheelchair. Thank you very much. She's found half of her set of false teeth. If anyone has found or has got or knows where the other half are, please could you? It was too much.
I have periodontal disease, which is gum disease, a healthy mouth, an unhealthy mouth. Yeah, that's nothing serious. I'm not going to die. My teeth, however, I need to see a pedontist, hygienist, tooth person who's going to scrape my teeth and clean my teeth really, really good because I need it. And she got a mirror and put a little mirror in behind. And I watched her and she got, this spiky thing and like, dag, it didn't hurt because it's like full of shit. And scooped out this quite big hard piece of tartar that had built up and down in my teeth. Yeah, and what else? That's it. It's not really exciting.
What about holes and stuff?
What about holes? She reckons my teeth are pretty healthy, but when I go back next time, we're going to get an x-ray to double check because I didn't have enough money.
Don't worry, if it still hurts, I can give you another shot with a bigger needle.